Hello Indie Game fan, do I have an awesome week of releases for you, beginning with the 1.0 release of Goblins of Elderstone, a colony sim where you're managing a tribe of green skins, releasing out of early access after more than 5 years, where I distinctly remember covering this game in the early days of this channel, so it's nice to see it finally being done. Alright, so this release will probably be awesome, but gets a lower spot since it is DLC, but Dead Cells Return to Castlevania is one of the most insane crossovers ever. Like Goblins of Elderstone, I remember covering this game in early access and knew that it would be something special, where it is an absolute juggernaut of a game that enabled its developer to grow and expand, where the crossover with Konami and the grandfather of the Metroidvania genre is certainly interesting to see. There are new bosses, weapons, levels, and even a storyline where there are rumors circulating of Konami wanting to get back into games, so maybe we'll get a new Castlevania announced soon. This video is brought to you by Steelborn, a 2D run-and-gun platformer where you pilot a humanoid mech, stomping and blasting your way through the world. Contact has been lost with a remote colony, so you are sent to investigate, where of course something devious lies in the wait, including a whole bunch of alien monsters. The mixture of on-foot and in-robot sections are interesting, where you are of course more mobile in the former, with a variety of weapons including a katana, as well as traversal options like a jetpack to keep the action moving. This is inspired by classics like Contra, Metal Slug and Blaster Master, and has some inspiration which I'm not too familiar with, including Abuse, Ranger X and Hero, but where the action does look awesome, so if it looks good, pick it up via the link in the description below. A trippy and perhaps fan-servicey rhythm game is RINA RhythmERROR, a title where you're moving on the note highway as you defeat various bosses who just so happen to be anime girls. I think that it has a good look with some decent music as well, although do note that I had to swap out the music for this trailer since, as with most rhythm games, the original music is copyrighted, but do check it out if you love the genre. Speaking of musical games, Figment 2 Creed Valley is a sequel to a game from 2017, being a relatively simple action-adventure game, but where the twist is that characters often break out into song and dance musical style. But the sequel does look to continue that legacy as well. It is set within the human mind, where as the personification of courage, you must defeat the nightmares that have overrun the once peaceful lands. If you're watching this video on the day of release, the original Figment is free to keep on Steam, so go add it to your library. A game that is potentially a hidden gem of the week is Chippy Noppo, a co-op puzzle game where two friends must work together to assemble various toys. Of course, with the co-op focus, one is better in low places and the other can jump, coming to us from a Japanese developer and does look very whimsical, where you can play this solo by using both thumbsticks, but of course, it would be best with a friend.
相性だと思うよ。ここね、今日調子いいね。そうなんだ。そうそう、こんな感じ。こうかな。いいじゃん。あ、よっ、かっこいいじゃん。それを服を見てほしい。頑張って作りました。やったー、完璧。
When you wander under the stars, sometimes for miles and miles. And you're you, but you're not just you. Because there are many strange worlds, and none of us are just one thing.
Bigger games begin with Clash Artifacts of Chaos, a third-person action-adventure game with a focus on melee, almost Souls-like combat, and is theoretically the latest entry in the Xenoclash series, which are very weird and interesting first-person games, coming to us from mid-sized developer Ace Team, who have an interesting back catalogue.
Don't read too much into it.
The city faces endless problems, but we have the ability to solve them, so why not try? Well, you know, a detective does have to be a good talker.
Another game from a mid-sized studio founded by industry veterans is Mato Anomalies, one part detective sim and one part JRPG, with an intriguing real-world setting, giving off Persona vibes, although it isn't quite as stylish visually.
Such a place exists. What's this? Stay back! The gun is useless!
Back off, unless you wish to die. This is above your pay grade. There is no common sense as far as they're concerned. Why try to solve a problem when you can eliminate it? Good or evil, judgment is at hand. Let's be quick. Show me your work, Tonatrus.
Rest on my shoulder.
The largest Japanese publishing company did spin up a games division, where Oni, Road to be the Mightiest Oni, is an action-adventure title where you're travelling around the land, defeating various enemies in order to reclaim your pride and to defeat the legendary Momotaro, having an awesome visual style.
Don't tell me the truth. If I ask you over and over now, Irish melt into the world. My skin just melt into the ground, into the ground. Fingers rocking, movement to sleep. Their eyes licking to the light.
Hey kid, how's the subway, huh? Welcome to my city. Come on, get in.
Smaller games begin with Big Ambitions, a business simulation title where you go from small-time business owner to the head of a huge corporation, looking pretty impressive.
Let you know how it all began. You see that building? That's where I started my first business, the gift shop. I rented my very first apartment nearby. It was small, but I made it home. After that, I started my fast food restaurant. It was an overnight success. And then it really started to speed up. We expanded like crazy. We built headquarters. We bought warehouses. We hired staff. Soon, I was sitting back and watching the cash roll in. But what to do with it? It wasn't enough. I was bored without the hustle and the chase. I still felt I could go further. I realized I could stop renting office space, then I started buying whole buildings. I kept on investing my money, and my empire grew. Huh? Oh, sorry, kid. Got carried away. So look, you need help starting a small business? Great. We got no time to wait.
We also have the prologue demo of Citizens Far Lands, a turn-based city builder that looks fantastic, but is not another relaxing city builder having conflict and combat, where fans of the genre should check this out.
Horosego Daina!
We also have the release of Contraband Police, a first-person simulator title set in the 1980s in a nondescript communist country where you play as the Border Patrol, having to check passing vehicles for contraband, or perhaps you could be persuaded to look the other way, with meta elements like upgrading the station, where games like this have a weird way of exploding in popularity.
How many into this abyss have fallen? And now one more. What purpose brings you here? My world was not created for chastisement.
Creepy Tale 3, Ingrid, Penance, is the third entry in the Creepy Tales series, where the first two have been very well received, so of course they made another.
The way you grab it all around and break it. Get out, obnoxious child! No, don't you dare! Just look at the wild mess that others like you have made of my once perfect little hell. I ask only for peace. Get out of here!
Final Prophet, a shop RPG, is a shopkeeper title made in RPG Maker with a very interesting protagonist design, looking kind of weird but interesting. We also get the Steam release of Outlanders, which was previously on Apple Arcade, being a city-building god game where you're unable to directly control your people but have to guide them along instead, but where this has no combat, so it should be rather chill. Stellar Sovereigns isn't usually my genre of choice, but this 4X space strategy title with RTS combat does look fairly impressive, so if you're a space sim person, I would check this out. We also have the 1.0 release of Terraformers after about 1 year in early access, where this turn-based colony builder has you expanding and terraforming Mars, being fairly well received so far and will be for strategy game fans. Hey, if you made it this far, subscribe to my weekly newsletter to keep on top of all things indie games, link in the description below. Let's kick off the top 5 with Master Plan Tycoon, a game which, full disclosure, has sponsored a video on this channel before, but I am selective with who I work with, where it's an impressive management sim title where you're gathering and producing various resources in order to make a functioning economy. The various production chains and buildings do feed into each other, but it will eventually turn into a complex interconnected web, adding layers upon layers of strategy. A game which I previewed when looking at upcoming games of the month is Hellscream, a retro first-person shooter with a unique color palette, where you will notice the conspicuous placement of the rear view mirror at the center of the screen, just as if you were in a car. The mirror allows you to detect invisible enemies behind you, which adds another level of intensity to the action since you have to be constantly on the lookout with some good looking action and gunplay.
In the heart of Transylvania, something awakens. What happens when over a dozen sexy singles get a chance to win the cold, undead heart of a vampire legend? Watch as some become friends, others become enemies, and one lucky monster will be the one to capture Drax's love. This is Love at First Bite.
I've been expecting you.
Oh, yeah.
We also have the release of Romancovania, a 2.5D Metroidvania title crossed with a dating game show where the Grim Reaper is trying to find love for Dracula with a whole host of monstrous suitors to choose from in addition to the side-scrolling action.
Love's not my forte, but I'm listening.
We also have the 1.0 release of The Last Spell, a tremendously successful pixel art tactical RPG where you command hero units and fend off massive waves of enemies. The tactical action is strategic and fantastic, where building up the defenses in between waves adds an added layer of strategy, so if you have been waiting on this, be sure to pick it up where it gets console releases this week as well. I still cannot believe that somehow this Souls-like RPG is from a team of just 3 developers, where I've been keeping an eye on this game pre, during and post Kickstarter campaign, where Bleak Faith Forsaken looks awesome, so I hope it delivers on its promise, since if so, it will be a showcase for indie game development, with a special mention going to a Patreon indie game ultra fan Sean H, and you can find more upcoming Souls-like titles in this video.